Hello, I'm Melita from Timeless Yoga, bringing you wisdom from the 8-step system that is yoga. And this is video 3, exploring the yamas, or the first step of the 8 steps of yoga, often referred to as restraints. Just know it's going to be easier for you to follow this video if you've watched the preceding ones, mainly because I use a couple of Sanskrit words that are explained there. And in this video, we're going to build on those. So the first was ahimsa, non-violence. We then talked about satya, truthfulness. And now we're going to explore asteya, non-stealing. And I invite you to consider the yamas as top tips for life, or gems, pearls of wisdom, as opposed to restraints or shoulds. The whole point of them is that they assist you to skillfully navigate life and the challenges that naturally arise. And as you often hear people say, yoga is a practice. So it's all about ongoing learning, expansion, and opportunities for growth. There's no right or wrong, black or white, enough or not enough. Yoga really is a journey. And these gems are really there to help you to navigate through life. You can think of them a bit like a GPS. And I find that when I have difficult decisions, or I feel confused, or I'm getting off track, etc., that by just coming back to these simple guides, it produces more freedom, more opportunity, and I guess more ease in my life, really. So that's the intention of this series of videos for you anyway. And I do encourage you to look further afield. There's so many different books, different yoga lineages will speak to this in a range of different terms, and that's going to give you the most holistic view of them, as well as just finding different anecdotes, different stories, finding what works best for you and what you can relate to, because the whole point is that we're actually able to apply these in daily life. So find out that which makes sense to you and which best speaks to you. So if we have a look at asteya, or non-stealing, the first thing we often think about is the most obvious, thinking about physical objects and ownership. And in this short video, I would like you to consider 3 different ways that we steal, and not just those physical objects. So we steal from others, we steal from the future, and sometimes we steal from ourselves as well. So for example, stealing from others. When we're engaging with others, etc., we need to be conscious and respectful of other people's time, and also aware of the balance of me and you, of the balance of listening and speaking. So if someone else is telling us a lot of information, or maybe they're celebrating something that's happening for them that's really exciting, we have the opportunity to really listen with respect and allow them to express themselves. And then, as is naturally the case, often then after that, we'll get to talk about what's happening for us. But there are times when we may unconsciously really dominate a conversation, or even speak over the top of others, or not allow others an opportunity to express themselves. And I find that happens more when we're in a difficult situation, or we're annoyed about something. Our mind is just really rattling on and on about a particular topic. So this is just an invitation for you. And there was a great quote or idea that someone mentioned. I don't actually know who it was, so credit anonymous. It was something around the lines of asking ourselves in any given interaction, are we listening to simply wait for an opportunity for us to speak again? Or are we actually listening to understand? And I'm sure you can think of examples of times when you've done both. Knowing that also, being a speaker at times, you can be aware of what others' intentions are also. And it's a very different exchange or connection when people are actually genuinely listening. So another way that we can also steal from others is not being open to celebrating the great things that are happening for them, or needing to, you know, kind of work with one-upmanship. So someone expresses, oh, there's great things happening at work. And rather than being able to really receive that and listen and be joyful for the other person, sometimes we go into, oh my gosh, yes, this thing happened for me at work. So it's almost like you negate, or you're stealing the other person's time, the other person's opportunity, the other person's joy. So wherever possible, we want to lift each other. We want to allow for that expression. And it's really normal that sometimes also, you know, if something fantastic's happening for others and we don't feel that way, that we compare. And then in a way we're stealing from others because, you know, we don't want people to feel guilty for their life going well or great things happening. We want to be able to listen to them and be a part of that as well. Sometimes this can even lead to, you know, without meaning to, judging or, you know, trying to manage other people's behaviour, and certainly often a feeling of discontent, which we'd all be familiar with social media as well. So we've got that idea of focus, we've got the idea of time, so balancing our listen to talk time. And I guess this idea of stealing from others is really about an awareness when we're purely focusing on ourselves and we make everything about us, versus a balance between two people or in a group. Are you taking enough what is appropriate? It's just like, you know, if you're eating a meal and you're sharing a meal, you take enough what's appropriate to make sure that others also have some. And then there's this idea also with stealing from others, helping versus supporting people. And what I mean by that is sometimes if we take away the opportunities for someone to learn or to grow or to experience and work something out for themselves, in a way, in an appropriate way, it can be that, in an inappropriate way, it can be that we're taking an opportunity from them. So there's a difference between helping, which is kind of like enabling and controlling, over supporting, which is really focused on growth. So again, if you find yourself being a bit of a people pleaser, or, you know, I guess overly zealous in your perhaps need or role to be a fixer, then maybe this is a good opportunity for you to reflect on that as well. So the second type of stealing we can look at is the future, and also the present, actually, if we think about it, and that can apply to others and ourselves too. So there's a lovely quote that I read in a beautiful book called The Yamas and the Yamas, where it says, "We are all visitors to this land, to our bodies, to our minds." And I like that idea of considering everything in our life as being borrowed. And I wonder if we do think this way, perhaps we'll consider other people and situations a little bit differently under this premise, with a certain level of respect. Of course, there's also naturally stealing from the future as it relates to the environment and sustainability and future generations. Another way we can reflect on our behaviour. And part of this, I think, is a sense of give and take. So keeping that sort of balance. You can also think of it even as, busyness. Busyness really steals from our present moment experience, or if our focus is always in the future or always in the past, we're it has to come from somewhere. There's always an exchange or a trade-off, which means we're not actually really present here. So these are just all concepts and ideas that, you know, one of them might jump out at you and you might think, oh wow, I really want to investigate that a little bit further. And finally, I've also got some notes about how we steal from ourselves. Probably not something we think about too often, but very relevant. I find that if we believe all of our self-talk, the judgments, perhaps limiting beliefs, etc., it's almost like we're stealing from our own well-being or our own authenticity. So when we compare ourselves and perhaps, you know, feel that we're lacking, we're stealing from our own joy, we're stealing from our own opportunity, we're stealing from our own confidence. And then clearly a lot of practices that we have, for example, you know, all the usual kind of things that make us well, sleeping consistently, what we intake, so that could be food, could be liquids, could be even what we listen to, all types of input, and also how we spend our time. So these are all things that, when we're skillful at them, support our health. And when we're not so much, we're kind of stealing from our health and our future well-being in a lot of ways. And you could think of it even as the people around you that care about you as well. Another big one is the idea that we can steal from ourselves by holding on to beliefs or habits or patterns that really don't serve us any longer. And that could even include, you know, sometimes we overstay in a job where we have no joy anymore, we're not energized. So in that respect, we're stealing from ourselves future opportunities. And I guess what's important in all of this is to just have the awareness that we need to develop our abilities in order to hold that which is meant for us, to be able to step outside our comfort zone. And to not step outside our comfort zone or to not move towards our potential, yeah, it has the effect of stealing from your future joy, but also potentially the people that you might be impacting by doing your best, by living the life that inspires you. For example, there's a really great question that, you know, if I'm ever feeling unsure about things, I'll ask myself, and that is, who am I not to shine? Who am I not to follow my strengths, my intuition, my passions, my dreams? Because every time we follow those, we create something unique and amazing. So a perfect example, I run yoga hiking trips to Nepal. And at the beginning, I was very nervous about that because I used to think, well, what if it doesn't work? You know, there's a million things. And then, you know, after I'd run the trip the first time, I realized how much joy and transformation it brought, not only people who participated, it also obviously enhanced my growth. And, you know, throughout what we do, we support a whole range of different sort of social welfare groups, schools, etc. So, you know, by stepping into my dream, if you like, meant that I was reciprocating with the future, with possibility. If I hadn't have done that, well, it almost is like I'd be stealing from myself and other future opportunities. Anyway, that may or may not sit with you, but hopefully if it does, you'll use that one. So it's all about give and take and equal compensation. And I find particularly for yoga teachers and people in different sort of supportive roles, often, and I imagine also definitely in the health industry as well, how many people who are physios or masseurs or whatever, and they're in their social recreation time and people ask them, oh, I've just got this niggle, do you reckon you could help me with it? when you're actually stealing from their recreation time. You're not reciprocating with appropriate compensation. And likewise, if you have a skill set and you're a teacher, or whatever you're doing, you're kind of stealing from yourself and also even the industry if you're not requesting some appropriate compensation. I mean, we all do some activities for free for different reasons, but if you're doing that all the time, you're really stealing from your own growth and the industry that you represent. So I guess in summary, you can kind of see that Asteya, or non-stealing, is really important for our well-being and the well-being of others. And there are some really great questions that you might like to adopt. So one of them I've got is, you might spend a week thinking about it, or just referring to it, or even journaling it. How do I steal from others? And it's not about berating yourself, it's just about exploring. Because when we explore, we get information, we really can experience what that's like, and then we have an opportunity to change if we see benefit in it. You could also ask the question, how am I stealing from the future? Or how am I stealing from myself? So just a couple of practical applications. I hope this has been useful to you, and stay tuned for our next video coming up soon. Thank you.